Housemarque has been one of the most underrated developers on PlayStation platforms for years, supporting each of Sony's platforms since the PlayStation 3 era with arcade-style action games. The studio's games have been a mainstay on PlayStation platforms since 2007's Super Stardust HD, with it developing multiple exclusives for the PS3, PS4, PS Vita, and most recently PS5 in the form of Returnal. Now, after 14 years of partnering, PlayStation has finally announced that it has acquired Housemarque. Finnish developer Housemarque was first established in July 1995, and created a name for itself developing hardcore arcade-style action games such as Super Stardust HD, Dead Nation, Matterfall, and Resogun, the latter of which became one of the surprise hits of the launch of the PlayStation 4. The studio began to struggle in 2017, however, as the commercial performance of its arcade titles had failed to meet expectations, and announced that it would be pivoting to AAA game development with the now iconic headline on its blog "Arcade is Dead." One of the titles it began development on was Returnal, which released on PlayStation 5 this past April, while the other was Stormdivers, an all-but-cancelled Battle Royale title. Today, after years of collaboration between the two, PlayStation Studios head Herman Hulst announced that Housemarque will be joining the PlayStation Studios family alongside its beloved studios such as Insomniac Games, Naughty Dog, Sucker Punch Productions, Guerrilla Games, and more. Commenting on the acquisition, Housemarque's Ilari Quitinen stated, "We are so excited to finally join the PlayStation Studios family. This gives our studio a clear future and a stable opportunity to continue delivering on gameplay-centric approaches, while still experimenting with new methods of narrative delivery and pushing the boundaries of this modern art form." Fans of Housemarque will be happy to know that, as Quitinen states, this acquisition will likely keep the studio afloat for a long time, especially given the success of Returnal. It may also allow the studio to return to making smaller, more arcade-centric titles digitally for PlayStation 5. With Returnal, Housemarque proved that it can still develop hardcore action titles with satisfying gameplay loops, while also balancing the polish and production value needed to stand alongside PlayStation Studios' other franchises. As for further acquisitions, while it appears that PlayStation Japan's Twitter accidentally revealed that the studio should be acquiring Bluepoint Games soon, the developer behind the remakes of Shadow of the Colossus and Demon's Souls. This has been yet another long-awaited acquisition on Sony's part. However, it is not known if the studio would continue to remake older PlayStation titles or create its own IP going forward. The PlayStation Japan posted a similar image alongside its own announcement, but instead of displaying Housemarque's name and logo, it showed Bluepoint's instead. The tweet has since been deleted, but the image has been saved for posterity. This was obviously a mistake since the accompanying text is still about the Housemarque acquisition. And while this can't necessarily be taken as an official confirmation, the fact that such an image exists does heavily suggest that Bluepoint has either being bought out too or is in the process of being acquired by Sony. When Sony intends on making the announcement itself is unknown. For anyone unfamiliar with the studio, Bluepoint Games is mostly known for making remastered ports, such as the God of War Collection and ICO and Shadow of the Colossus Collection for the PlayStation 3. More recently, it's even released full remakes of some beloved titles, namely Shadow of the Colossus for the PlayStation 4 and Demon's Souls for the PS5. While it has released a couple of games for the Xbox 360, a quick glance at its resume shows that it has mostly worked on PlayStation exclusive projects, so it already has a strong working relationship with Sony. Some have even suspected/theorized/hoped that Sony would properly acquire the studio at some point. Between its acquisitions of studios like Housemarque and Insomniac, it's clear that Sony would rather cultivate the relationships it has already made as opposed to Microsoft, which has been openly eager about snapping up studios to make Xbox exclusives. As for what Bluepoint could be working on next, the safest assumption is that it will be another remaster or remake. There have multiple rumors in the past about remakes of Metal Gear Solid, Silent Hill, and Jak and Daxter. Asked if he views the recent acquisitions for both PlayStation and Xbox as an arms race, PlayStation Studios head Herman Hulst says without pause, no. Not at all. Hulst says, rather, that PlayStation Studios is very selective about which studios are made a part of the team. In other words, PlayStation Studios' views toward acquisitions haven't changed, and no exceptions are being made in the name of competition. Hulst continues from there, further characterizing the expansion of PlayStation Studios. He describes what Sony is looking for before it acquires a new studio. He lists similar values and creative ambitions as priorities that must be shared. He also mentions the necessity of being able to work with PlayStation's teams to create reciprocal growth. Suffice to say, PlayStation has thoroughly vetted the studios it's acquiring well beyond circumstance. A list of acquisitions for Sony Interactive Entertainment in recent years provides some context to Herman's comments. Housemarque is the most recent, with 2019's Insomniac Games purchase prior. The most notable acquisition before the pickup of Insomniac would be Sucker Punch Productions all the way back in 2011. In other words, it's certainly evident that PlayStation has strict expectations. However, it's also true that acquisitions seem to be quickening. One aspect of Hurst's comments worth an eyebrow raise is whether he's implying something about Xbox's acquisitions at the same time. It's undeniable that Xbox Game Studios has rapidly expanded in recent years. Hulst believes Xbox has been rushing its acquisitions without proper vetting. When it comes to acquisitions, Sony is different from others. For a studio to make its way into the PlayStation Studios family, they have to earn their spot like Insomniac Games did it with Spider-Man with the support of PlayStation. Housemarque was acquired after they have proven themselves with the critically acclaimed and commercially successful Returnal, where PlayStation has recognized the game as a successful new IP alongside Ghost of Tsushima. The same thing with Bluepoint Games, after their success with the phenomenal PlayStation 5 exclusive, Demon's Souls remake. The Bluepoint Games acquisition has been or not officially confirmed, in which way you think, because they posted the image in PlayStation Japan's Twitter account, and later they removed it. With the massive support and big budgets, Housemarque should extend their studios and have two teams. One for bigger AAA games like and beyond Returnal, and the other team for making arcade games, because I want both experiences from them, and I don't want them to leave the arcade genre behind. The same thing can be said with Bluepoint Games. They can also extend their studio and have two teams. One for making their own new IP and the other one for making remasters and remakes. After all, this is what organic growth and nurturing talent means, and Housemarque will be a big gun in the PlayStation Studios portfolio, as they also confirmed that they want to make bigger games than Returnal in the recent interaction with Herman Hulst. With rumors that PlayStation has acquired Bluepoint Games, the odds of seeing a Legend of Dragoon remake are arguably higher than ever. The Legend of Dragoon was a role-playing game for PlayStation 1. It received mixed reviews from critics when it was originally released, though it has since gained a cult following. The Final Fantasy-like RPG saw huge sales numbers in its native Japan and North America as well. Originally a sequel was planned, but it was unfortunately cancelled for unknown reasons. For several years, fans have been petitioning for a Legend of Dragoon remake. With Sony's rumored acquisition of Bluepoint Games, a remake could be closer than ever. Bluepoint Games has cultivated a reputation as a leading developer of remakes. The developer has most recently worked on the acclaimed remake of Demon's Souls for PS5, and has remade Shadow of the Colossus in the past. I would love to see Bluepoint Games remake Metal Gear Solid, among other much-loved franchises. While Bluepoint's acquisition by Sony hasn't been made official, it would make sense to a lot of fans, thanks to the two companies' working relationship. If Sony's buyout of Bluepoint Games proves to be true, it could be a good sign of things to come for the Legend of Dragoon. For most fans familiar with Bluepoint's work, this doesn't come as a surprise. The developer has had a working relationship with Sony for a long time, dating back to its first ever game, Blast Factor on PS3, to some of the iconic collections like the God of War, Metal Gear Solid, and Uncharted: The Nathan Drake Collection. Bluepoint Games could have access to far more support and resources, which could mean it could take on more projects now with Sony's backing. While it's speculative, the studio's rumored acquisition could tie in with rumors about the Legend of Dragoon. Starting in 2019, rumors began to swirl surrounding a possible remake of The Legend of Dragoon by Bluepoint Games. A remake was never formally announced, and the rumors gained momentum after social media posts from Bluepoint Games. Some gamers were quick to point out possible hints for a Legend of Dragoon remake. With Bluepoint games possibly being under the PlayStation banner now, things could be aligning for the Legend of Dragoon's remake to become a reality. Fans have made it clear they want to see the Legend of Dragoon remade. If Bluepoint has been bought out by Sony, the studio would potentially have access to more support than ever before. This could mean that Bluepoint is in a better position to take on more projects, and with the remake rumors in mind, it's now more possible than before that the Legend of Dragoon could be remade. If and when the Bluepoint Games acquisition is made official, the fan demand for a Legend of Dragoon may redouble. Until an official announcement is made about the status of Bluepoint Games, speculation is likely to continue about the studio and the Legend of Dragoon. The third acquisition PlayStation made is a thing that does not bring any excitement at all. Earlier today, the head of PlayStation Studios, Herman Hulst, made another acquisition announcement welcoming nixxes software to the PlayStation family. According to a press release, the move was made to help provide high-quality in-house technical and development capabilities for PlayStation Studios. Since it formed in 1999, the Dutch studio has primarily worked with Square Enix studios like Crystal Dynamics, IO Interactive, and Eidos Montreal, helping to port games from the Tomb Raider franchise, Marvel's Avengers, and Deus Ex to the PC. While certainly not a splashy name that many fans may be familiar with, this type of move could be for PC ports. Speculation has already begun that nixxes will be the ones to port Sony franchises to the PC, something which the company has previously stated it would like to do following the releases of Horizon Zero Dawn and Death Stranding on Steam. nixxes' experience with PC ports and its technical expertise will no doubt help Sony achieve this goal, but not for its fans. As I said in several videos, I am not on the side of PC ports, and I don't want PlayStation to sacrifice quality to get more money. Earlier this week, Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut was leaked by the ESRB. While speculation pointed to the game being announced at a possible PlayStation State of Play event, Sony has instead announced it via the PlayStation blog. Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut is coming to both PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 later this year, with some features that will be exclusive to the PS5 version. Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut will launch on August 20th, bundling together the base game and all the post-launch content in one package. The big draw is the addition of Iki Island, which was previously leaked to be a Ghost of Tsushima standalone expansion. Instead of it being a standalone expansion, Iki Island will be part of Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, featuring a new story, a new location, new characters, and more. It seems the Ghost of Tsushima Iki Island content will actually be baked into the main game. According to the announcement, Iki Island is going to be accessible to Ghost of Tsushima players after they reach Act 2 in the game and make their way to the Toyotama region. Ghost of Tsushima PS4 players will be able to transfer their saves to the PS5, so anyone that's already played through the game should be able to jump into the Iki Island content right away. While Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut and the Iki Island expansion will be available for both PS4 and PS5, there will be some features that are exclusive to the PS5 version of the game. This will include lip sync for Japanese voiceover, haptic feedback, adaptive triggers, 3D audio support, improved load times, 4K resolution, and a targeted 60 frames per second. Unlike many other PS4 to PS5 upgrades, Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut will not be free. Upgrading from the base Ghost of Tsushima on PS4 to the PS4 version of Director's Cut will cost $19.99, while the upgrade from PS4 Director's Cut to the PS5 version will cost $9.99. Those upgrading from the base Ghost of Tsushima on PS4 to the PS5 Director's Cut version will have to pay $29.99 to enjoy the PS5 exclusive features and the Iki Island expansion. This includes updates to photo mode, more accessibility options, combat improvements, and the ability to hide Jin's quiver. The Ghost of Tsushima Legends multiplayer experience will be getting some kind of new game mode in the weeks ahead as well, and like all other Legends updates, it will be released for free. Likened to Uncharted Lost Legacy and Spider-Man Miles Morales, this spin-off would fit with the PlayStation Studios style. With the real-world Ikishima Island being right next to Tsushima, and roughly 1/4 of its size, it serves as a believable setting for this supposed mini-sequel. It would also be a much more believable scenario for Sucker Punch, as making a full-on sequel in less than a year would be unrealistic. Similar to how the Ultimate Edition of Spider-Man, Miles Morales provided access to Spider-Man Remastered, the Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut could be creating a full package. This way, those that missed out on the original could get access to both games for one price. Sucker Punch's Ghost of Tsushima was one of last year's biggest hits. It was well reviewed by critics, beloved by fans, boasting over a 50% completion rate among players, and managed to pick up awards at most of the major events. Now, a standalone expansion known as Ghost of Ikishima has leaked online. As more information and rumors begin to spread, it appears that Sony has quietly registered a domain for Ghost of Ikishima. Since the initial leak, fans have been piecing together tidbits of information to attempt to confirm Ghost of Ikishima, with real-life coincidences acting as the primary evidence. The real island of Tsushima is less than 50 miles from a nearby Iki Island, and the latter is about 1/4 the size of Tsushima, making it the perfect spot to stage an expansion. So, it appears that it's time for fans to start celebrating and preparing for a sequel to one of the best-reviewed games of last year. It's hard to imagine the sequel not being itself a beloved game. After all, despite Ghost of Tsushima's performance, there are still plenty of small improvements that Ghost of Ikishima could make. The real-world Iki Island is extremely close to the real-world Tsushima, with only a bit of water separating the two land masses. Only an hour and a half away by boat, it is not out of the realm of possibility that Jin Sakai could make the trip to the smaller island. If Sucker Punch can come up for a reason for Jin to visit Ikishima, whether it be a prelude to his battle with the samurai or an unrelated issue, it is a believable location for the next Ghost of Tsushima game. Ghost of Tsushima's open world proved to be a big hit with fans due to its beauty, and Ikishima Island would allow for those visuals to be kept intact. The same visual style could carry over, as the closeness of the two islands would suggest a similar topography. This would also allow Sucker Punch to reuse some assets, as the close appearances of the two locations could help speed up development. Iki Island also features some expansive caves and gorgeous bodies of shallow water. Searching through these caves could allow players to find some collectibles and learn more about the island's history. In the case of the lakes, they could be used to introduce some more complex swimming mechanics to the series. With Ikishima being the closest inhabited area to Tsushima, it is a logical next step for Sucker Punch. While Iki Island is far too small to support a full, 40-hour adventure, it could handle a 10-hour spin-off or expansion. With that supposedly being the exact thing that Sucker Punch is trying to accomplish, it is a perfect fit for the next game setting. With so many examples of this approach, Sony seems happy to embrace smaller adventures in between full-on sequels for its first-party titles. Assuming that the game follows in Spider-Man Miles Morales' footsteps, Ghost of Ikishima could turn out to be even better than the game that preceded it. Moving forward, we have a recent rumor on GTA 6, as a series of claims from a reliable insider is stoking excitement about GTA 6's location, but fans may still have quite a while to wait. Grand Theft Auto 6 is something of a gaming cryptid these days, with the ever-churning rumor mill spitting out claim after claim of dubious provenance. Still, every so often something a little more convincing comes along, and the latest batch of rumors concerning the modern-day myth that is GTA 6 looks to be just such an offering. Reliable industry leaker Tom Henderson recently released a video showcasing all the bits and bobs that he's been able to pick up regarding the development of Grand Theft Auto 6. Perhaps the most surprising detail is his claim that, from what he's heard, the game is not set to be a sprawling multi-continental adventure like the GTA 6 Project America's rumors have been claiming, but rather will bring a favorite location from GTA's past into the present day, Vice City. The reasons for this seem to be tied to the success of Rockstar's Grand Theft Auto Online, as a modern-day Vice City would make it easier to tie elements and events into the wildly lucrative online game. On top of that, Henderson claimed that while the modern map of Vice City might not be quite as sprawling as many are expecting, it would prove to be an evolving map that would change and, presumably, grow as new DLC is released. He suggested that this might take the form of in-game episodes like Fortnite's seasonal events, which have seen meteors crashing into the world and aliens invading, among other things. He also suggested that there would be multiple playable characters like in GTA 5, one of whom would be a female hacker. Unfortunately, not all the rumored developments were so positive. Having previously suggested a 2023/24 release window for Grand Theft Auto 6, Henderson now suspects that it could be closer to 2024/25. The reasons he flags up are understandable. For one thing, the game is apparently looking to release solely on current generation consoles and PC. So with shortages of PS5 and Xbox Series consoles still plaguing the market, it's smart to wait for the prospective install base to grow a bit. The other main reason Henderson suggests for the delay is Rockstar's commitment to improving its workplace culture and reducing crunch. After a 2018 report that revealed the company's severe crunch policies among other things, Rockstar appears to be trying to be reasonable in its expectations of its employees and prioritizing their well-being. While this may well mean a delay to the release of GTA 6, fans can at least feel fairly confident that the game itself will be made to the best of its developers' abilities. Of course, by Henderson's own admission, he isn't known for Grand Theft Auto news, sticking primarily to Call of Duty and Battlefield leaks in the past. As with any leaks and rumors, all this information should be taken with a grain of salt until it's confirmed by Rockstar itself. Rockstar Games' heavily anticipated Grand Theft Auto 6 is starting to seem like a distant dream right now, with the rumor mill being consistent with its work, but fans can't seem to unearth anything substantive on the next entry. A reveal likely isn't due anytime soon, but it is still interesting to wonder what might be coming in Grand Theft Auto's next iteration. It's always fun to speculate and fantasize about Rockstar's next big project. Despite a bunch of rumors including the Project America's leak, there's no factual clue regarding Grand Theft Auto 6's true setting. Rockstar is certainly a master of its craft in the world-building department, but there are a few things from Grand Theft Auto 4's Liberty City that the next game should definitely take into account. The open worlds found within Rockstar's titles are huge and full of character, which is part of the reason why fans are excited for more. The Grand Theft Auto series is synonymous with excellent atmosphere, whether it's the neon-drenched rain-soaked streets of Vice City, or the sunny suburbs of San Andreas. Despite each of these cities being in stark contrast with one another, a lively and chaotic vibe can be found as a common running theme. Grand Theft Auto 4's depiction of Liberty City sits at an entirely different place. A drab and macabre color palette of green, brown, and gray envelopes the fictional New York City, which helps ground players in the world as Niko Bellic. It also helps in establishing the satirical nature of the game as the protagonist, much like the player's perspective, steps into the city expecting to live the American dream. Looking back to this day, Grand Theft Auto 4's juxtaposing roster of characters and Liberty City easily make it Rockstar's most unique work in the franchise. It's grounded, but the hilarity of characters provides some much-needed levity that shakes up the series' formula, without robbing it of its core identity. Given how often Rockstar has become fairly formulaic with Grand Theft Auto, it might be worth looking back to Grand Theft Auto 4 and make the next game a lot more serious and honest. The studio's latest game, Red Dead Redemption 2, is proof that grounded open worlds and storylines can work when fully committed to engaging storytelling. Grand Theft Auto 6 is a chance to shake up the series' conventions in a similar way, and Grand Theft Auto 4's Liberty City is definitely a good starting point. Interestingly enough, many of these lessons don't restrict Rockstar's choice of settings for Grand Theft Auto 6, be it Vice City or Project America's. While a lot of this speculation certainly sounds intriguing, it could be too much to ask. Grand Theft Auto 5 is a behemoth of an entertainment product, and following it up with anything risky is, well, risky. Regardless, the attention to detail and the consistency present within Rockstar's recreation of New York City is certainly more than enough inspiration to craft Grand Theft Auto 6's world along the same lines. Sony has now confirmed that the PS Plus games for July 2021 are actually a plague: Tail Innocence, Call of Duty Black Ops 4, and WWE 2K Battlegrounds. PS Plus subscribers will gain access to these games on July 6, with Operation Tango and Star Wars: Squadrons available until July 5. The third PS Plus game available this month, Virtua Fighter 5, will be available alongside July's games until August 2nd. A Plague Tale: Innocence is the PS5 upgraded version of the game. A Plague Tale: Innocence follows Amisha Darun, as well as her brother Hugo, as they try to escape the Inquisition during the Black Death. Its sequel, A Plague Tale: Requiem, was announced at E3 2021 and is set to release in 2022. In it, players will take Amisha and Hugo on another quest as a terrifying curse hunts them down. In other words, for those who have had some interest in the game and its sequel, but haven't checked it out, now is the perfect time to do so. The other two games don't really need any introduction. Call of Duty: Black Ops 4 is perhaps most known for its Battle Royale mode, Blackout, while WWE 2K Battlegrounds was a substitute WWE game, of sorts, for the WWE 2K series to take a year hiatus. Both games will be available alongside A Plague Tale: Innocence, and are available on the PS4 platform. Of these three games, what is perhaps the most interesting isn't how two games really bucked the rumors leading up to their announcement, but what each game has to represent about its particular franchise. Each game, not just A Plague Tale, is getting a sequel or follow-up in the coming year or so. A Plague Tale: Requiem aside, this includes WWE 2K22, which is trying to re-establish the franchise after the reception of WWE 2K20. Another COD is a surefire bet too, with the recent codename Slipstream for Call of Duty 2021 being leaked. It remains to be seen if PS Plus is building up some sort of hype for proper reveals of these games, but it seems like a solid month for fans nonetheless. And that's all for the video, guys. Like and share the video for a greater audience. Comment your thoughts on the topics, and if you want to contribute for the growth of the channel, the link to my PayPal in the video's description and in the channel banner. Donations are always appreciated. Thanks for watching the video, subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon, and until then from SMPV it's goodbye.